Hey there, this is a quick tutorial on how to add phase change lines when you're graphing using Excel. Specifically, if you're going to be graphing using single subject design and you're going to be adding data to a graph, there are a couple of ways to add phase change lines. One very effective way is to insert those puppies by drawing a line, inserting an object. However, when you do that, the phase change line doesn't move with your data. And so here is one way that you can effectively add phase change lines to your graph. All right, so here I have some hypothetical data I just constructed. What you'll notice is I have the sessions. So these are going to be the numbers that follow my x-axis. And then I've got baseline and intervention data. Hypothetical, just made it up. In baseline, I've got a few data points, and what you'll notice is I've separated the baseline and intervention into two separate columns. What I want you to do is follow along. So open up a document and take a second, an Excel document, take a second to insert some data in. Doesn't have to be these data, but try and set it up in a similar way so you can follow along. So be sure to pause the video if you need a couple of seconds to do that. Now, if you're ready, what I want you to do is highlight this entire box here, and I want you to go to Insert. Again, a couple of different ways you can do this, but this is a nice visual explanation. Insert, and then you would think you would go to Line Graph, but no, we're not using a line graph. Instead, we're using a scatter plot. So if you see here, it says XY scatter. What I want you to do is pick drop down from the drop down menu, the option that allows you to have straight lines connected. You may not be able to see that on my screen, but you'll be able to see it come up. And this is what your graph should look like. So it's just gonna plop itself right in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull this graph down so you can see it a little bit more effectively here with our data. All right, so what you have here are a bunch of lines you're not going to use, just to make sure that there's not a lot of static or noise in the background of our graph. I'm just going to click on one of those lines. Any line will do, and I'm going to delete that. Now you have this nice clean chart area or plot area. So what I want you to do is actually click on that. Now what you notice is there's an exterior box and then the plot area inside that larger box. You can click out just in case and make sure you're just clicked on, just clicked on the plot area. Okay, once you've clicked on this interior plot area, I want you to go to Select Data. Click it. You'll get this awesome pop-out window that will appear. And then what I want you to do is add data. Now, if you were going through and sourcing a graph, you could actually go through and highlight these to add a new phase change line. So if you had raw data, let's say in another tab, and you wanted it to appear in this graph, you can actually go click on that tab and highlight that by clicking here and then doing this, and it will go through and just select that data for the series. But that's not what we want to do. So we're just going to cancel that because it's going to mess with things. That, my friends, is another video. So click on plot area, right click, select data. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add a new series here, and we're going to name this, just for fun, phase change. Your X values are going to be, and I'm just going to move this over so you can see a little bit here. You want them to fall between your two data points, between baseline and intervention. And because our baseline data point, our last baseline data point is 4, and our first intervention data point is 5, that means we want the phase change line to fall exactly between. So we're going to do 4.5. And so the way that you do this is equal with the bracket that looks like a mustache, a little mustache bracket. You're going to do 4.5, comma, 4.5, and then close that within our mustache bracket. Now, in terms of your y-axis, you see here that our chart goes up to 16, so you can select that as the highest data point, and you can actually just put that in here. Your lowest point is going to be 0, right? So right at the bottom of the axis, 0, comma, 16, and then okay. Now what you noticed is that the axis on the Y side of things has changed to 18. You can click on that and you can actually change that axis by formatting axis. So you can change it back to 16 here if you want to make sure that that phase change line is all the way up at the top of your graph, as it is here. Now what you'll notice is it actually inserted something into the legend. You can manually just delete that if you'd like to later. We'll leave it there for now. The biggest thing that you want to do right now is you've got this great phase change line, and as you continue to add data, so we can even see that here, if I were to add additional data on and reselect it and resource it, it would show up in this graph now. But as you add new data, this is actually going to move with you, which is lovely. What a nice thing to have. But we want to make sure that it looks like a phase change line. So as you've clicked on it, you're going to go to, and this might look a little bit different, the marker, and you're going to do marker options, none. And that's going to remove that marker for you. Then you're going to go to line, and you're going to decide what you want your phase change line to look like. Right now, ours is gray. I'd prefer black. I would like a solid line, which is great. No transparency, and you can change the width of your line as well. So sometimes you want a little bit of a thinner line to, so it's not so distracting and doesn't take away from your data. Again, you can change all sorts of different aspects of the line here, but I'm pretty happy with where our line is at. So I'm going to leave it there. Now, you can also go through and change the color of the data by doing the exact same thing here. On the line, you probably want it to be black, and that's the marker line. What color should be black as well, and you can update everything there. Similarly, if you're finding that's too thick and you would like that line to be thicker or thinner, you can change it there as well. All right, so that's it. There is a shadow here that can also be amended in here someplace. Right here, you got to take care of that shadow. All right, so all of that to say is everything can be fixed and changed. There is an outline here. We're going to remove that later, but this gives you the basic premise on how to insert a phase change line. Hope you find that helpful.